Dear friends, welcome to our weekly message. This is Pastor Dave at Salem Lutheran with our President Jack. And we just got out of our council meeting, had some good news for you. And I think the number one news item is our results of our in-person worship plans. Jack, you want to share with the congregation what's going on?
This is going to be exciting. We're going to come back to in-person worship service on May 23rd. That's Pentecost Sunday, the birthday of the church. It'd be great fun. We're going to come back to in-person service there. Up till that time, we'll continue the streaming, and you can watch it later in the day in the recording on YouTube. But May 23rd is going to be our first in-person service. So it's going to be fun.
And you will be informed about all the rules we'll need to follow, all those conditions we have to follow to make sure that we keep everybody safe, etc. Make sure you wear red. It's Pentecost Sunday. It'd be a great day to see a red wave out in our congregation.
We got to find some red masks. It'd be fun to have some red masks.
There you go.
You know, Dave points out, and it's going to be true, we're going to have to follow all kinds of restrictions. There's going to be masking. There's going to be social distancing. You're going to have to be screened when you come in. You're going to have to be shown a seat by an usher. And when the service is over, you can't leave till the usher tells you. We're going to have to follow all these kinds of rules to keep everybody safe. And there's a reason for that. Now, the COVID team is going to be meeting Thursday night. We're going to draw up all these kinds of mitigations, we call them, rules. And we'll get that out to you through the messages with Dave and myself, and through some letters. You're going to be finding about all these things. So obviously, there's going to be some restrictions. Things are going to be different when you come back. But we think we can get about 65 people in here safely for a service. That's our calculations, given the measurements of the pews. We measured all that. We scoped it all out. We got a 6-foot stick we're using to figure out where people can sit and be safe. And we can make it very safe. Not perfect. There's no way we can remove every risk, but we're going to work on that. And of course, it helps if you're vaccinated. That's a big thing.
Yes, we've got a lot more people being vaccinated, so that's good news. And we'll look for a letter in the mail. We will send something by traditional snail mail so that everybody gets a chance to see what's going on. Jack, we had some other things at the council meeting that came up. How's our finances looking?
Finances look amazingly good. Now, we're in the past month, well, I shouldn't say. In February, we were down a little bit, but it looks like we're coming back. And it goes up and down as people, you know, I think it's how comfortable they feel with their lives and the way things are going. But financially, we're solvent. Things are going well. Now, that doesn't mean everybody put your billfold away. Yeah. So, you know, hang in there and keep supporting us. You know, it's no matter how you look at it, it costs money to run the church, and but it's going well.
Well, we also wrote a check about $1,800 to neighbors too for the
We're
food.
sending money to neighbors, $1,800 there. We haven't finished counting all that got change. That's going to feed my starving children. No, yeah, it's going to feed my starving children this time, and I think that's going to be well over $500 or something. So people are generous. They're generous to others in the community, and they're generous to this church. And keep that going.
Yeah, a couple other things that are going on that we talked about at our meeting is Wapagasset. We're still taking names to sign up kids to Wapagasset if you're interested. Earth Day, we're going to celebrate Earth Day a week after on May 2nd.
May 2nd, we're going to do that. May 2nd, we're going to do that.
And got an exciting project.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, we got an exciting project. We've been talking about Magomi. Some university students went out to Magomi to talk about clean water, something we take for granted all the time, but might be hearing some things about that coming up too.
You know, we've been working with the University of Minnesota for a couple of years, and they sent and it's sort of our urging, they sent a team of students out there, and they looked around in Magomi. They spent a week out there, and this was over a year ago. And they came back and they had some ideas and a plan. They were going to come out and tell us about it. Then the pandemic hit, so they couldn't do that. But they put together a video. But they've put together, these engineering students, a way we can bring clean water to Magomi. That's going to cost some money, obviously, to put pumps in and piping and all that. So down the line, you're going to hear about, we're going to say, hey, can you help us out and bring clean water to Magomi? Probably won't be going to Magomi this year because of the pandemic here and the situation in Tanzania, which is not real good. So we probably won't be going to Magomi this year. So maybe the money that you normally would have given to help us do that will funnel into a water project. You'll hear more about that. We're still fleshing out the details. Flushing out is maybe a bad word.
Yes, thanks. Our mission exploration team, that is the team that puts together the the ministry site profile for Salem, meets tomorrow night. We're working on the mission plan for the congregation, so we're moving forward. Hopefully we'll have the ministry site profile, a completed version, hopefully in June sometime. It just depends on how fast we can get through a couple other parts, and we're looking forward to getting that presented to the congregation, and that will guide the conversation for a call committee, of course. And we will have a town hall meeting, and Krista Lynn from the Synod offices will be joining us, and it'll be a conversation about what the mission exploration team has put together. It will be approved then by the congregation. There might be some alterations, some changes, but the congregation will have input on this. But I think that's about it, Jack. I think that's enough time. Thanks for listening.
Good crew working. I just want to put in one more plug for Wapagasset. You know, if you know some kids or grandkids that want to go to Wapagasset, I've been there. Many of us have been there. It's one of the great experiences of our youth. So if you got somebody who'd like to go to Wapagasset, and when we go, it's later in the year, but the registration is now. And you know, we've got some money to help with camperships. People have given over the years to support Wapagasset. We've got some money in campership fund, so we're ready to send somebody. So anyhow, thanks for joining us. It's been a good night here at Salem, and we're going to press on.
Stay tuned for the message that's going to follow.
Okay, very good.
Hello, dear friends at Salem, for our message part of today's video cast. You saw the messages from the first part, or the announcements from the first part, and so I'm just going to share with you my message for the day, as we are in a rather tense situation in the state of Minnesota, as most of you are all too aware of. As we talk about our text today, it certainly informs us to a very difficult situation, and so as we move to the Sunday, a lot of things will take place, and the sermon may change a few times between now and then. We'll see. But I think that there's some stuff that's in here that is really important for us. It's the John 10 text that many of you are very familiar with. It is this image of the shepherd, the good shepherd used in this case. The image is an important one for the Hebrew people. It's a very nostalgic image. It is used, and I will read in a moment from Ezekiel. It is used throughout the Old Testament, a very pastoral setting with the shepherd. Though Jesus' day, it was less so. It was getting more into an agrarian society where you'll see Jesus begins to shift to be using images of seeds being planted and weeds being ripped out, and the I am the vine, you are the branches imagery. So there's a lot of this agricultural stuff that's going on that begins to shift in Jesus' day. Not as many are in the shepherding business, though it's certainly still very prevalent in the Middle East. So I think it's important to note that this is a very nostalgic, reminiscing text for many of the Jewish people when they hear this with the shepherd. And so I'll read to you from John 10, our Sunday's text. It says, I am the good shepherd. Now, it's an interesting word. There's a couple of words in Greek that are translated good. But most of the time, the word that we find in the Greek for good in today's reading is the word kalos, or beautiful, or noble, or even model. So that kind of heightens the imagery that Jesus is portraying here as I am the model shepherd, or I am the noble shepherd. You know, good's not a very strong word. You're good, not great, but you're good. Obviously, most people have positive images of Jesus being the good shepherd. It's clearly a very powerful message too, but I think it even heightens it when we look at the word to say Jesus is the noble shepherd, not royalty type noble, but very, very sacrificing. When we think of nobility, we think of somebody who's doing a noble act of sacrificing. And by the way, the word sacrifice is made up of two words. It's from the words that mean to make sacred. So it's interesting that sacrifice is not just an act of martyrdom, but it actually becomes a sacred act if you use it from the etymology of the word. So I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. The wolf snatches them and scatters them. Of course, the image here of sheep and shepherd is between the people and God, but also people who are representing God. And when I read that text from Ezekiel, it'll be very clear that some of the leaders in the community have left the sheep and turned their backs on the sheep and let the wolf come into their midst to harm them. That would be the reference to the hired hand. But now listen to what he says as he goes on. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. So there's a unifying act that is going on here. Not only is Jesus and the Father one, as we oftentimes hear in the Gospel of John, but also we are joined to that same image, that same family, if you will. He says, I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep, and this is what we're going to focus the sermon on. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock and one shepherd. And that'll be the important text for unpacking this on Sunday. And so I encourage you to look a little closer at that, because as I'll talk about, we've got the Christians in John's community that are kind of huddled together, but now they're going to be forced to ask the question, what do we do? The burning question is, do we bring this message to the Gentiles? How will they ever even understand it? Their gods are so different than ours. This will just be a very difficult thing for them to understand. But as we know, the evangelical movement works very powerfully even within those communities that haven't previously heard of the Messiah or the Hebrew version of God's story. For this reason, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order that I can take it up again. No one takes it from me. So it's a very powerful message, because even though Jesus was under threat, he only died when he chose that would happen. It would not be done without the plan of he and his Father. So no one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own accord. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to take it up again. I have received this command from my Father. And of course, there's why we use this text in the Easter season. I like to go back to Ezekiel. This comes from Ezekiel 34, and you'll see how Jesus builds upon this image. Ezekiel 34, I'm going to read 11 and 12, and then I'm going to jump down to 23. For thus says the Lord God, I will search for my sheep and will seek them out. As shepherds seek out their flocks when they are among their scattered sheep, so I will seek out my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places to which they have been scattered on a day of clouds and thick darkness. And then in verse 23, I will set up over them one shepherd, my servant David. He shall feed them and be their shepherd. And of course, as we know, Jesus follows in the lineage of David, and so not only is Jesus the king like David, but he also becomes that shepherding model, that nobility, you might say, of the royal heir. But it's deeper than just having a title. It means that he cares about the people. And so we're going to talk about that unifying factor, and especially in this week when we've had a lot of division and a lot of turmoil and chaos. So I leave you that to think about, to ponder. We'll join on Thursday for our prayer this week, and this Thursday is also Earth Day, so we'll try to pick out some appropriate prayers and maybe even go out into the garden if it's pleasant and do our prayers from there. So thanks for joining me. Be still and know that the Lord is our God.